These other ones go a little faster. Attitudes and beliefs. Let's read the first sentence together. I must take responsibility for my attitude and for what I believe. Attitudes, beliefs are up to you and me. Please let that sink in. If you're grumpy, that's an attitude. It's your responsibility to deal with your grumpiness. You're mad about XYZ, that is your problem. You're happy, that's your issue. You're joyful all the time, wonderful, that's your attitude. You feel malaise, I don't want to do anything today. I feel depressed, that's an attitude, that's yours. Does that make sense? That's your phone, you're responsible for your phone. Think of it, that's your horse. Your attitude is your horse. Now here's the deal about beliefs. Attitudes and beliefs go together. You need to ask the question all the time, is what I believe true or false? A false belief are things like this. This is what people say all the time in life because they've been hurt usually. People can't be trusted. That's false. That is false that people can't be trusted. Certain people can't be trusted. But when you've been betrayed like I have, it teaches you very hardcore, people can't be trusted. So I have to fight that myself all the time. Christians are hypocrites. That's false. All Christians aren't hypocrite. Hypocrite is a person who says you shouldn't do one thing and they themselves do it. It's not true that all Christians are hypocrites. Some Christians are hypocrites, and some atheists are hypocrites, and some Buddhists are hypocrites. And so what difference? That doesn't mean Christianity is false. I'll always lose at what I do. I'm a loser. That's false. If I get too close to people that hurt or betray me, that's false. These are false statements. I don't deserve to feel happy. Nonsense. God is punishing me. Well, maybe, but probably not. Not according to the biblical view. No one would love me if they really knew me. What would yours be? You don't have to tell me out loud. What would yours be? What beliefs guide your attitude and worldview that maybe you haven't really challenged before? And do your beliefs come from the biblical witness? Would Jesus show up tonight and high-five you and go, that's exactly right, way to go, that's a good belief to have? Or would he say, no, I don't want that in you at all. In fact, I wish you wouldn't think that way. It makes me sad to know the fact that you think that way about yourself or about the world, about other people. And most of the time, these false, generalized beliefs like people can't be trusted, they come from hurt, they come from trauma. And praise Jesus, we can heal from those. You might need a therapy, you might need a counselor, but you can heal from false beliefs. And most of what we believe does come from childhood or a pattern of experience. Sometimes on one traumatic event puts a belief. Here's the problem though, Maura. We're not always conscious the belief got there. So you might get in a car wreck right out here off of whatever street, and then you get out and you make it, and you didn't know this, but a belief got real quickly put up in your database, your computer in your mind, and the belief is, every time I'm on the cell phone, I'll get in a car wreck, or I can't trust cars in blue, or blue cars are dangerous. So the very next time you see a blue car and your heart start racing, and the next time, and then 17 years later go by and go, you're chatting a conversation, it's just crazy. For some reason I see blue cars, I get so nervous. I do get nervous. Why do? Because I had a car wreck and there's a blue car. So you didn't realize it was a belief shoved in your system real quickly. And that's what happens in childhood. Lord knows it happens in childhood because we don't have the wits about us to understand where that comes from. You know, adulthood is the time you spend getting over your childhood. I tell my children, I'm doing the best job I can and I'm going to pay for your counseling. I'm telling you that. Do the best job I can and I'm going to pay for your therapy. That's my guarantee to you. But beliefs oftentimes come in. Now listen, I'm trying to encourage you. You can change your beliefs. God's grace can help you change your beliefs and set you free. But that's a boundary issue. Listen, it's our responsibility to check our own attitude and our own beliefs. It's not the pastor's job, my friend's job, my spouse's job. What you believe is in you. Behaviors, let's read the first sentence. I must take responsibility for how I behave. He made me do it. She just made me so mad I had to. Nonsense. I got road rage. I know I did. I tell you what, I just get so mad I have to. No, you don't. It is not that person's fault. It's yours. Now, behavior is supposed to have consequences. Now, there's classic scripts or constant roles people play. The most common one for females, sorry ladies, is the rescuer. The rescuer is the person who feels such anxiety that someone else feels something negative, they do whatever it takes to rescue that person from feeling something negative. So if the off chance maybe kind of sort of my husband might feel upset, I'll come to the rescue to make sure it's not even going to come well. I'll do what I can to be in the work. I'll make it so peaceful and awesome. There's no way she could be upset with me or him about anything in the world. And we're a rescuer. It's a textbook, sad, dysfunctional way to live life. A lot of parents are by nature, we call them helicopter parents. They're rescuers. In psychology, we call them rescuers. No. As soon as they start crying, they come to the rescue. Quick, food, pacifier. That's not because the baby's upset. It's because the parent's upset. It makes them anxious that the baby is sad. And they're going to baptize it. I just love my kid so much. No, it's not because of the baby. It's about you. I just got so upset. It's not about other person making you upset. It's because of you. You felt better when you vented and raged, and now you feel better. I feel all better. I just got to get off my chest. That wasn't about the other person. That was about you. And that's a behavior issue. And I'm going to talk more about that later on. Choices, let's read that one together. I must take responsibility for what I choose. The Bible assumes I choose, and God's going to hold me accountable for my choices. It just does. It assumes it. She made me do it. This is nonsense. I mean, that's nonsense. Because you did that. I remember this homeless woman who was being interviewed. I think this was in Houston. This was years ago. It's freezing cold. Freezing cold. It was dead of winter. And the news right there, and they were talking about this ministry or whatever the organization was, handing out sleeping bags, food. I mean, she was bundled up in blankets, and she was at this truck receiving stuff. People in the back receiving all this material. And the people saying, how's it going? How's it going? I see, she goes, how are you doing here? She goes, well, it's fine, but, they don't give us much, and she's got her arms are full of stuff. In the background, people are getting dumped all this free stuff. And they go, will you stay inside the shelter? So I don't know. I'm going to stay. People don't want to take care of her. We don't, yeah, thank you. She didn't say thank you. She's grabbing her blankets. So my point is, here's the shelter in the view of the camera. She's being free stuff, and she's still bickering about the stuff she doesn't have. She's choosing not to receive it. If she slept on the streets, she's saying no. That's the boundary. She's saying no to warmth. I was saying it doesn't matter how much stuff you have, we still choose. We can't choose how we feel. That's the barometer, the thermostat. We feel things based on what we believe. We can choose our behavior. Some of you have been traumatized as a child. You can't control that you feel sadness or anxiety or panic because those triggers happen. You cannot control that. You can control going to the therapist or not. You can control getting on some medication. You can control what you do in response backwards. I got in here and get a car wreck, and boom, broke my leg. And I'm limping. Say, David, you chose it. No, I didn't choose that because I'm a genuine victim. I didn't say, the point here is not you choose everything in life. You don't choose everything in life. I didn't choose to be born as a white guy and from a family in Mississippi. I didn't choose that. So there's a lot of things I don't choose. I can choose what I do now. Do I limp the rest of my life and get a lot of attention and tell people how sad I was and what happened 38 years ago? There are people who do that. I counsel them. They never ever want to get over it. Or do I go, I'm going to physical therapy. Why do I want to keep limping? So there's all kinds of choices we have in life. And they don't have to be governed by our feelings. And love and intimacy are choices. And they're scary, stinking choices to love. And intimate doesn't mean just sexually, but be vulnerable with a person. That's a scary choice when you've been hurt. But they are choices. So if you're saying no to them, just own it. I'm deliberately closing off that part of my life because I hurt so much. I'm trying to encourage you, God designed you for better. And if you go to counseling and therapy, you can work it out to get more vulnerable. But when we've been hurt, it is so scary. I'm telling you, I know it. That is the risk of love, of friendship, and also with a vulnerability, even with a spouse or whatever, a loved one, lover. It's the risk. They might say no, they might hurt you. But it is a choice to say no to it forever or to limit it. I've counseled many couples, and they said, I never felt bonded with them. Married for 23 years, I never felt that close. And I usually say, I believe you, because I've met him. He has a whole vibe of, I'm not getting to know you at all. It's a choice to be closed off, and that's a sad choice. But that's a boundary problem. It is a choice. Limits. I must take responsibility for what I limit. I choose to expose myself to unhealthy habits and people. I mean, just own it. You hang out with the wrong crowd, guess what's going to happen? You're going to turn into the wrong crowd. Well, no one else will like me. That's not true. That's a belief you have that's false. You hang out with a good crowd, the people who pray for you, love Jesus, love the Bible, guess what's probably going to happen? It's a choice. I must say no to myself and set limits. Look, I just can't say no. Those donuts, I just can't do it. I can't do it. I can't. You're choosing not to do it. You're choosing not to say no to yourself. You're choosing not to say no to yourself. You're choosing to say yes to your desires. We have to own it. I just can't say no to that cheesecake. No, it means you've chosen to say yes every time you see it. You're going to eat it. Whatever, drinking. I get near that bar, I just can't stop. Whether it be drinking, sex, gossip, whatever it is, we make the choice to say, no, that's my limit. I've had my limit. Or we say, yes, I've got more and bring it on. And we have to learn how to say no to ourselves, our own desires, our own wishes. And that's exactly what self-control is. In the New Testament and the Old, particularly the New Testament, one of the fruit of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, patience, remember, kindness, gentleness, and self-control. It's one of the fruit of the Spirit. Self-control is nothing more than saying no to what you want all the time. No, I can't have one more. Thank you, I've had enough. No, thank you, I can't be overextended. I can't volunteer for that. I can't. I'm booked up. No, grandson, I can do X, Y, Z. No, I don't want to. Internal self-limits. Thoughts, top of page 3. I must take responsibility for what I think. I can't simply accept other people's thoughts or ways of thinking. Just because they think that way doesn't mean you have to think that way. Let that sink in for a little bit. Now, if you're like me, I don't like arguing. I don't like debating. There's a person, when I first came here, I think it was the first Sunday. Maybe it was the Sunday I even got voted in. And she's sweet, but she came up and she said, glad you're here. She goes, I can't wait to duke it out with you. But, oh Lord, what kind of church is this?
That's because you were from Texas.
And she looked at me and she said, yeah. And she kind of like she was worked up to do it. And I go, oh, okay, well, I don't. She goes, I can't wait to get in it with you. And she meant debate me about stuff. And so she tried again, and I go, okay, well, I don't. I actually don't like debating. And she goes, oh, okay, just the dialogue. I said, I do like dialoguing. I like discussing things. But I'm letting her right there. But just because she might want to do it doesn't mean I have to get worked up. Those aren't my thoughts. I have different views about things. I don't like debating. I don't like disagreeing all the time. It wears me out. And some people I'm around at this church and life and all my life, some people, you just know for a fact when you get around them, they're just going to disagree with everything you say. Or they have such radically different views, politically, religiously, whatever, you'll find yourself all the time on the inside going, no, I disagree, I don't disagree to it. That just wears me out. That's why you don't have friends like that. Friends are people you typically agree with, right? We like the same kinds of movies, same kind of food. Well, okay. My point is, though, the healthy part of disagreement is it means you have a self, and he or she has a self, and you don't always have to see it the same way. So while I don't like disagreeing all the time, disagreement is a healthy thing when it's in the healthy means to say, I see it differently. Thank you, though. I disagree. I like my shirt. It looks good. I think it looks good. I'm giving you a hard time. But other people's thoughts don't have to be your thoughts, right? They don't have to be. You can agree with them. All we're saying in boundaries, like that fence and the horse, they don't have to come right over and take over your lawn. These your thoughts got to be yours. That's manipulation. And so we say, wait a second. Or you might say, I need time to think about that. I'm not sure what I think about that just yet. And sometimes throwing my hands up like this is a good way to demonstrate for yourself boundaries. Hold on a second, please. I've done that before with people. Hold on a second, because they'll come at you. They'll come at you. Our choices are based on what we think. Think about that for a second. I think I work here, guess what? So I come here a lot in that office. I think that's my red truck, so I'll go to it. I think that's my wife, so I'll go home to bed and we'll be in the same bed tonight. I think that's my daughter, I'm going to take care of her. We do it all the time. I think God loves me, so that I behave certain ways. I think Scripture is authoritative, so therefore I read it all the time. I make my choices based on that. And thoughts must be examined in relationships, since our tendency is to pigeonhole. The way I like to see it, I say pigeonhole. We like to, let's be honest, okay, friends, we like to put people in molds. Every church I've been in, just my little testimony here, and this church is no different. People, we think of the world this way. They're either conservative or liberal. They're either this or this. We see the world typically binary. You're either Democrat or Republican, independent, they don't exist. They just know, and as soon as you say one thing that leans a little bit to the mold they already have for you, it reinforces the belief they already had about you. And there's a word we use for that, that's prejudgment. They just judge you. They're trying so desperately to fit you in a mold. And it frustrates the snot out of people when you don't fit the mold they had for you. And then if their mold is strong enough, and I've experienced this here a lot, if their mold is really strong enough, no amount of counter evidence will change their mind. Because they'll assume the other data that doesn't fit their mold, you're lying. You're just lying. Why is that? Because I've already got you figured out. Well, we do that in life a lot of times if we're not careful. The person at the checkout counter, the pizza delivery guy, the woman who cut you off, she just must be we just boom, boom. And so we've got to be real careful as humans and as Christians that our thoughts are not immediately trying to pigeonhole people in certain molds right away, though it's difficult to do. Now, why do we do that? Because we're sinners? I don't think so. I think it's because typically people do follow patterns. Secondly, especially if you've been hurt before. And if there's anything that's related to a painful event in the past, you'll learn that lesson. That blue car, I'm staying away from blue cars. All right? And that goes back to the thoughts and the belief system. So if someone else's blue car, I don't trust them. Well, that seems trustworthy to me. They're being tricky. What about that person who's a kid who hurt you? The kids who made fun of you in school? Whatever it might be, they'll come up right away. So we have to check our own thoughts. They don't have to be someone else's. And they're our responsibility. Okay, that's a big mouthful and pause right there. That's a good pausing point. What questions or comments do you have for me there? Anything at all? I put Mark 12:30 because he says, love the Lord, right? Love God with all your heart, soul, strength, and mind. The answer is mind. If you go to Luke's version, Mark, it's actually mind, strength, and anyway. And 1 Corinthians 10:5, I think it's the one, I take captive every thought. That's one of my favorite verses. Because sometimes I struggle with my thoughts. He says, I take every thought captive, what? To obedience to Christ. It's my responsibility to take my thoughts captive. Are they true or not? Are they Christian or not? That's it. I meant to say that Bible verses. Any questions about anything we've covered so far? Elaine, anything I need to say I missed? Love you. Elaine usually is she is now even too, she's very, very good when she's been in these classes over the years ago. You want to say this? You forgot this? So I really rely upon her. Yes, Julia. What now? It's a really good sermon. Thank you, baby. It's a very good sermon. Very good sermon. Thank you, baby. Thank you very much. My son, oh my goodness. It's not true that she gets everything she wants. Maybe. Maybe so. Maybe so. My son, he's a cheerleader every time I finish preaching. I think almost every single time. If he's in the pew, as soon as I sit down, Dad, good job, good job. Go, thank you, baby. Thank you, baby. Appreciate it. High five. I got him trained. That's right. Got him trained. That's right. He better, because he's morally responsible for my feelings. If he doesn't cheer me up.
He likes to hear when you say
Of course
good
not.
job. That's probably why.
That's right. He likes to hear what I say. Yeah.
When you say good job, so he wants.
Oh, yeah. That's right. That's right. Well, we sure praise him a lot. But it's so sweet he does that. Baby, thank you. Let's talk about some features of boundaries, and then we might stop and probably stop there. This common responses I'll probably come back to later on, so we'll hold time. So the top, row number 4, page number 3. Boundaries are always negotiable and should be predicated upon what we value. So this is where people start getting already like, David, this sounds so rigid, and what about people I want to come back later on, can I ever change my mind? Yeah. There are people in my life that I had strong boundaries with, like geographical distance, and then some just emotional distance. I'm closer to them geographically, but I'm still distant, I'm not vulnerable. And then they showed themselves to be more trustworthy, then open up more. Others opened up a good bit and closed down and thought they're not going to change. I stopped. That's just it. But they're negotiable. They're just negotiable. You get to decide that. It's your property. It's your land. It's your horse. It's your truck. It's yours. It's yours. It's completely up to you, and it depends on what you value. Do you value being around honest people? If you do, that should be one of your boundaries. I want to hang out with people who are honest. If they lie to me, I'm going to have a strong boundary with them. If they show themselves to be trustworthy, I will start being more vulnerable and hang around with them. But otherwise, I won't do that. I don't value honest people. That's actually one of mine. I have certain things that are a big deal to me. A lot of things are a big deal, but that's one of them. So they're not locked in stone. You get to negotiate them all the time. You negotiate them with your spouses, your friends. By the way, you negotiate them with God. I've got a whole week that we're doing just on boundaries in God. But we negotiate that. Now, you're going to demonstrate what you value by what you say yes to and what you say no to. Thank you, baby. Thank you. You'll value that. So, if you say yes to going out to that restaurant, you show you value that. If you say no, you show you don't value it. All I'm saying is, this is how you demonstrate what you value. I'm getting to know a lot of people at the church, and I'm getting to know very quickly what a lot of people here really value. Where they spend their time, what they say yes to, what they say no to. I ask people all the time, what do you do for fun? It lets me know a lot about a person real quickly. If I really want to know a person really more, I'll say, where do you spend your money? Where do you spend your time? And what do you praise? I'll know a whole lot about what you value in life, a whole lot. But they're negotiable. So you're not being rigid and mean, and I'm cold stone, I'll never talk to them ever the rest of my entire... Well, that might be a wise decision if they're toxic. But maybe not. Maybe they'll change. People can change. But they're negotiable. And you get to decide that. They can't burst down your wall. That's yours. Some walls are 50 feet high. Some are a foot. But you're always on the lookout to make sure if it feels uncomfortable to you, you feel violated or whatever it is, they're trying to get over your wall, whoop, gets higher. Don't feel comfortable at that. They're getting back on they're trying to, some people love to break down boundaries. Some people love to be boundary busters. I know them. I can give you names.
When you say that the value or the boundaries are negotiable, I
Yes.
assume you mean within yourself.
That's exactly right. Thank you, ma'am. Negotiable within yourself, not the other person. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So, Linda, that's right. In healthy, you would never ask the other person, let's negotiate my boundaries. Right? You wouldn't. That's exactly right. Now, later on, I'll give examples of role play. If you need to say no, you don't, just like your grandchild, you would never say, and here's why. If they're good acquaintances or even good friends, I have explained why I've said no more, or why there's more of a boundary. Because I've tried several times to do X, Y, Z, and you're not respecting my time. Every time we have to go to the movies, we have to wait 20 minutes because you're late all the time, and you're not showing time. Well, that doesn't respect my time, so I'm going to go without you. But I'll tell it to a friend. They'll explain, oh, I'm so sorry. I appreciate that, but you get there whenever you get there. It's just, it bothers me to be late because I'm spending money on my movie ticket, so I'm going to go there or can. I'll explain it. If I don't know the person that well, I might not explain why I do. I go, no, thank you. Or I just know inside I'm negotiating. Nope, that's been renegotiated. If they're really mean and rude or hateful or a boundary buster, I never tell them why. People who are boundary busters, oh my goodness, I'm here to testify. If you explain yourself, they think it's ammunition. They think it's fodder. They think it's a hook. They can't wait to keep at it. And the best thing to do is just as curt as possible. The really rough ones are. And I could give you examples, and maybe later on I will. So they are negotiable within yourself. You're exactly right. Based on what you and I value. Boundaries demonstrate what's ours, right? That to which God will hold us accountable. Now think about that for a second. I'm repeating this again. At judgment time, that's one way to think about it. So if Lisa's struggling going, is this a boundary problem? Am I responsible for this? Based on what I know about Christianity, at judgment time, would God say, why didn't you do blank? If it doesn't feel right, I don't think he's going to hold me accountable to the pizza guy's feelings or whatever it is. And I'll say this later on, I think, I'll get it later on. But the point is that question can help us sometimes get better boundaries. Am I going to be morally accountable to how someone else feels? Well, no, I can't control that. I control my tongue. I control my behavior, my choices, my attitudes, and beliefs. Right? I can be as kind as I can. And I've noticed that, in ministry, all of my entire adult life, I've been in ministry. And one thing is for sure, it doesn't really matter what your intentions are. People always assume you had the worst. And so you can say the word in the sermon, you'll say that one, whatever, they'll come back and say, what did you mean by so-and-so? You go, what did I say? Or I meant da-da-da. Well, I thought surely you meant. Now, not everyone does that, but it just doesn't matter how much you try hard to make sure it's nuanced just right, and you die a death of 1,000 nuances. But the point is, I can't be responsible for that. I do the best job I can based on, and all of us that way when you talk in conversations. We do the best job we can, and we fail, and we move on with life. But will God hold us accountable? Number 3, they help us take care of it. Keeping the good and keep the bad out. I want to value that. I want to take care of me. I say this all the time in counseling. There are times in life you've got to be, it's called a healthy selfish, what I call a healthy selfish. And I said it in a sermon a long time ago when I said, Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself. There's a sermon on how do you love yourself, which is online, I think. But anyway, it helps you value what you value. Take care of you. Me time. Now, people who've experienced trauma or bad family examples, they reverse this. They keep grief, bitterness, depression on the inside, and they keep sinful behavioral examples inside, and they disregard the healthy. So people who've been really wounded have a terrible filter. They filter out the good and keep the bad. Imagine a big net in front of my face, and it's got a hole in the net. The net's big with a hole. People who have been through traumatic experiences let in the hole all the bad and block the good with the net. Healthy people reverse it. Healthy people block out the negative nonsense that I don't hurt my feelings. They let in the good. That doesn't mean they don't ever listen to feedback. I'm just saying in general, they let it on the inside of them. So in counseling, I almost always experience that. The traumatic experience they've been through, it generally distorts your reality. And healthy boundaries help us protect what's valuable. If you've been really traumatized when you were younger, I'm telling you, I'm trying to encourage you, if you've been hurt as a child, as an adolescent, maybe even an adult, the odds are very high you don't really know what you should be valuing because you're inside this, your understanding of what you value is messed up. And with good counseling, good therapy, you can get clarity on that and say, I didn't realize I was supposed to care about that. I've always thought so poorly about myself or whatever it is because of what they told me. And it's always sad, particularly wives. You know, my husband or my dad told me all my life I was dumb, or told me all my life I was ugly or whatever, and they believe them. And so when I say boundaries help you protect what they value feeling ugly. That's a false belief. I have to get that out. We have to work hard to get that belief out there and say, no, that's not true. You're protecting the wrong thing. You've let the wrong thing in the filter. You've let in. The net should have caught that nonsense, but it didn't. It's not your fault it didn't. You were a child or you were adolescent. You didn't have the coping skills. You listen to your parents. That's what we do. We value their opinion. And then they spend their entire adulthood realizing, I didn't realize, all my life I've thought that about myself. So boundaries help us take care of what is ours and what we really want to be there and what we value. But I'm saying you might need therapy to sort through what you really should be cherishing. What you should be cherishing. Boundaries demonstrate what we don't have control over. We have no control, we're not supposed to. And I love the way you say this here, that bullet point. This is what I was going to say a second ago, I think it was to Lisa, but we're responsible to other people. We're never responsible for other people's choices. We're responsible to them, not for them. And Paul makes a similar point in Galatians chapter 6. And in Galatians 6, he says, if you remember, this is right after the fruit of the Spirit. And I'm pulling this up because the Greek. But anyway, in Galatians 6, is right after the fruit of the Spirit, and he says in verse 1, Brethren, if a man is overtaken in any sin or trespass, you who have the Spirit, or in the Spirit, should restore him in a spirit of gentleness. That gentleness is one of the fruit of the Spirit. So Paul's given a case in point. He gives the fruit of the Spirit and he says, let's pick the gentleness fruit. Here's an example. If you find someone sinning, go to him and help him, but in the spirit of gentleness. Let the Spirit guide you, not being on, you're a dirty, rotten sinner. Verse 2, well, then he said, verse 1, look to yourself, lest you too be tempted. Verse 2, bear one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ. Now, burden there means the idea of a heavy load temptation. You help them. Verse 3, if anyone thinks he's something when he's nothing, he deceives himself. But test himself, and so forth. And goes down to verse 5, for each man will have to bear his own load. His own load. The word there, load, means something like cargo. So he's making two different things. It sounds like he's being almost contradictory. No, we should help a person with that overbearing load because everyone's got their own cargo to carry. Everyone's got the part that's to their own moral, I'm responsible. But if I can help you and yours is overspilling, and Pat's really getting bowed down, I need to go help. I'm not responsible for what you do for your own cargo. I'm responsible to you as a Christian to do my best job to help you. I can't control and I'm not responsible for how you receive it, what you feel about me, what you think about me, your behavior, your attitude, all those things between you and God. As a Christian, I'm responsible and morally accountable to God, but whether or not I'm acting like Christ towards you. Back to my analogy, Marna gets in a car wreck out and the blue car smashes her. As a Christian, to love my neighbor as myself, I would say I'm morally responsible to try to help you out, to try to get you out of the vehicle, to take you to the hospital. I'm responsible to you to help you. I'm not responsible whether or not you say, give me the bird, get out of here, or you feel devastated, or you're mad at me, or I can't control how you feel about that stuff. That's between you and God. But I've done my best to help you and to love you. Do you see the distinction? They're big distinctions. And in my experience, most Christians get that wrong. They think, oh, I'm also responsible for how you feel and what you choose. Boundaries come from God. They come from God. Think about that. We're not responsible for God's choices. I do a lot with skeptics and atheists through the years. I wrote a book for them, and a very, very common critique against Christianity, and particularly the Old Testament, is all that violence, all the things that happen. And one thing I don't feel responsible for is defending God. Because I have good boundaries there. I don't need to defend him. I can explain why I don't find those morally repugnant or why I think these texts are morally acceptable. I find these compelling, but I don't feel like I've got to defend God's honor. He needs me to defend him. Whatever. He was here before I got here. He'll be here when I'm gone. He doesn't need me, and his choices are his choices. I can tell why I think how I interpret it. God has very clear boundaries. He's truth. I'm the way, the truth, and the life. He didn't say, I'm whatever. There's no truth. It doesn't matter. That's not what he said in John. Like the Trinity, Father, Son, and Spirit, it's not the same thing. Father, Son, and Spirit, one God in three persons. There's boundary there. He invites to the gospel. He doesn't force you. It's a boundary. He respects your boundaries. Hell is God's respecting your no. He respects it forever. He never, ever forces himself upon you. As one person said, God is not a rapist. I know that's a hard analogy, but it's supposed to be. He never, That God is not a rapist. He never forces himself upon you. He invites. He respects your boundaries. The gospel is an invitation. Now, it's true, Jesus has been raised from the dead, the kingdom of God has begun. Would you like to respond appropriately? It's an invitation. He says all through the Bible, I love this, I hate that. Now, hate means I reject it. So he has clear boundaries. No doubt about God has clear boundaries. Well, we're going to have a whole week on that, so I'm just giving highlights, okay, just highlights. And of course, boundaries have consequences. They're positive. You stay healthy and independently responsible. That's really good. Back to 2 Thessalonians, when you work, you eat. There are positive things about that. The negative part, if there is negative, is if it's a new boundary for you that is internally, you're going to feel profoundly compelled, typically, to revert back to your old ways. It's going to cause inside of you terrible anxiety, if not just some, maybe terrible. And the consequences of healthy boundaries can be that you end the relationship with the person. Just giving you a heads up. It is not a sign of being unhealthy for you to say, I'm not talking to that person anymore. It might be a profoundly healthy Christian thing you do because you're loving yourself and that person's so toxic, they're not good for you at all. So what's quote-unquote negative really is just the feelings you might have that surface if you establish new boundaries. And I'm telling you, sisters, I'm just telling you, I know what this feels like. My wife can testify. My mom has a serious psychological disorder. And I knew, when I found that out, I always knew something wasn't right. But when I found that out, I knew because of her disorder, the research I did, once I started establishing boundaries, these kinds of people cut you off forever. I knew that was the risk if I started establishing boundaries with her. I knew it. I knew going, and it was very tough for me. It caused me anxiety. We've been through a lot of stuff together, and she'd been a wonderful, wonderful mom for a lot of the times. But the bad part was so bad, it wasn't worth it to me anymore. It hurt so badly. And so I knew going into it, you talk about anxiety. I mean, oh my Lord, you talk about anxiety. All the counseling I went through and the anxiety, I started little baby nose, little baby steps. And before I got to the full-blown boundaries, guess what happened? We haven't talked in 10 years. 9 years, 9.5 years. She cut me off. That's it. Now, I'm not chasing her because she's going to be the exact same. The reason why I said no in the first place, she's not. I know this because I keep to the grapevine to my brother how she's doing. I care about her. I care that she's doing well. I pray for my mom when I think about her. But there is no way in our family that those worlds can interact. Not right now. Not right now. And I hope and pray in the future we can. I really do. Right now we can't. It's not healthy for me and my family. So I'm telling you to tell, and I give you story after story. This isn't make-believe for me. This isn't just cerebral nonsense out of a book. I've lived it for years. And that's just one example of so many stories I could tell you in life of when I've had to establish boundaries, how scary it was at first. Because I felt responsible. And if they cut me off, then what? Who do I have now? Especially at the time, because for a long time, I didn't have a relationship with my dad. We didn't talk for years and years and years, 6, 7, 8 years. And so when that happened, I thought, I have no one left. I mean, it was scary. But that's an extreme form. I've had other minor forms of friendships. I had boundaries with friends that I was good friends with, not anymore. So it can cause anxiety. But I'm here to tell you, here to testify, I don't regret it for a second. You talk about a freer life, liberated, happier, the anxiety I felt all the time, oh my goodness. And that was my deal. I'm responsible for my anxiety. But because of the profound effect it had on me as a child, I was not in a healthy place enough to where it could not affect me profoundly. Now I'd be different. Now I have a relationship, I'd be able to have much more mature, healthy, but the problem is, because of her disorder, it'd go on and off so much, it would cause such chaos with my kids and stuff, that's not worth it. It's just not. Me and God have come to grips with that.
I was going to say a bit about how I think as Christians we get confused sometimes that if we would really forgive, then we would restore. I know you'll hit on that later, but.
Very good, yeah. And we're going to stop here, by the way. We're not going to finish that last little bit. We're going to stop right there. Yeah, that's exactly right. And when I do forgiveness, we'll talk about that. That having healthy boundaries means that sometimes if the other person is too toxic, you do not want to reconcile. It's not good for you. A lot of times, I'm not dogging people. Please understand this. I'm really not. A lot of times in Christianity, we're so, how do I say this? Sometimes we're so concerned or scared or, I don't know how the best way to say it, of saying people are toxic that we will put up with all kinds of evil behavior because they mean well, because they've been here for a long time, well, because they help with the kids. And there's never, maybe one church, but almost every church I've ever been a part of, there's a handful of toxic people that just can ruin the church. And they're people that everybody else knows are the toxic people. And they dance around. That person is different. There's code words Christians use. There's code words because they all know that person is just toxic. And we're too scared to say it because, well, I got to be Christian. I can't say that. Some are just toxic. And in the New Testament, those people were confronted and eventually some had to leave. Now, I'm not in the kick-out business. All I'm saying is there are people in life, in your life perhaps, between spouses, ex-spouses, moms and dads, in-laws, sometimes some people just are toxic. They're not healthy for you. And it's hard for us, especially if you don't have the inside character to say, how can I make it without them? You'll put up with a lot of nonsense because you don't have your own self-esteem. When you start getting healthy self-esteem, which is what God granted me over several years of process, when my tank got filled up enough, then I finally could start saying no to my mom. But it took me a while to get there. It didn't happen overnight. But you talk about anxiety. But there's some people in your life, perhaps, that are just toxic, and you've given them chance after chance. You've overlooked. I'm just giving them grace. Good. Give them grace. But if they're toxic and they're hurting you, and they're harming you too, boundaries can be healthy. So I'm not trying to end on a negative note, but that is part of the negative part of is that sometimes that's what it means. Now, having said that, let me retract and say, most relationships that I know of don't go there. Most relationships are not that. They're not at all. They just don't. There's so many people in my life where I have boundaries with them, but I still have friends with them. I still hang out with them. I just have boundaries with them. I don't cut out, as soon as you offend me, you're out. I'm not looking at the boundary chopper. No. I just means that, I'll tell this story. One time I met with a guy, real nice guy, Christian guy, taught Bible studies. And family was so sweet. We would have lunch appointments and meet and chat. He was very cerebral, engineer, those types, which I like my nerdy friends like that. And we were talking, but we never talked much about feelings. And after about 6 or 7 times a meeting, I thought, I was dropping seeds, how much can he handle of emotions? A lot of guys are not good with emotions. They're horrible at them. They're trained to be mad, not have another feeling. And so I thought, I'll test the waters. Well, the day I decided to open up about my mom and my background and more details, and I thought, I'm going to go all in. Now, I'm okay. I knew if he didn't accept it. And so I told him the story. We were at Arby's or somewhere. I just or Chipotle or something. And I did, Lisa. I spent like 45 minutes saying, here's more about me. Because I was getting to know him, you know. I finished the whole spiel. This vulnerable, open book, deep in the life of David talk. And here's what he did in response. He looked at me and sat up straight and goes, whoa. That was it. And I go, yep.
That's it.
And guess what I didn't do after that? I didn't talk about my feelings anymore. Was I mad at him? No. Did I resent him? No. Did I hold a grudge? No. I just knew I had a boundary there. He's not able to handle that kind of emotional stuff. I'm not here to fix him. Now, the way you need to deal with this, brother, is you need to make sure when people tell you these feelings, no, I'm not his parent. I'm not his Lord Jesus. No. I respected his boundaries. He's not in a place to do that. So I didn't cut him off. We hung out a lot after that. You see what I'm saying? I don't cut off every relationship. It just means that I'm not going there again. If I'd kept doing it over and over and over and expected, it would have hurt my feelings. But I thought, no, I don't. I laughed about it. God gave me the grace to go, guys are crazy. That's how it is. Okay, any questions there? I keep going for stories, but we're out of time. Any questions? Or comments or whatever? Okay, I hope you come back. Because we'll keep going. Now here's my hope. My hope is that you're going to practice baby. If you have a problem with it, you might not. If you have a problem, my hope is this week you're going to practice baby knows. And I want you to celebrate. Call a friend, someone and say, I'm so proud of myself, I said I don't want fries with that. Or whatever it is. You need to celebrate when you've done it on the inside and the outside. Celebrate what person say that is. And hear the person go, good for you. Good for you. I used to call him my best friends. And he had a problem with no. A total problem. And I would deliberately ask him questions I knew he would never want to do just to help him out, because I'm a friend like that. Hey, brother, you want to pray in front of the church next Sunday? And he'd go, man, you're so good at it. Well, thank you. Well, it's not a poem, but thank you. But would you pray? Well, you know, there's so many other people who are good at it. There are good people. That's great. What about you? Would you pray for me next week? And I know, this is one of the he's just dancing. And of course, I'm laughing because and finally I said, brother, I'm trying to help you say the word. David, I don't know if I'll just say the word no. And finally he would, he just anxiety finally say it. Now, he's a friend. I pushed him on purpose. And he said, David, you drive me crazy. But that's because we're friends that way. So I hope you'll do that too this week. Find someone to celebrate with them. I keep pushing no, and Lisa, will you go wash my truck? No. There you go. You're practicing. I mean, it's silly, but really, sometimes just saying the words can help us. And that's secondly, I hope that over the time that when questions come up, I want to deal with real life issues, so feel free to write those down. Let me say a quick prayer for us. We thank you, Lord Jesus, once again for how you have set boundaries for us. You've designed us to live a life where when we love people, we love them freely, not because we feel responsible for them, not because we're guilt-driven, but because we're freely giving, we're freely loving. So Lord Jesus, we need your help. We need your help all the time because it's difficult to live life. And it is difficult to know exactly what boundaries to do all the time and when to do it. It's difficult sometimes knowing what it is we believe. It's difficult sometimes knowing exactly how our feelings are dictating our decisions, and all that goes on a daily basis. So we need your help. Help us have healthy boundaries. Help us love freely. Help us follow your example by being able to say no to the bad and yes to the good. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you all so much. Thank you.